G'day friends, welcome to today's YouTube video. My name is James, welcome back to my channel. Welcome if you're new. It's day 29 of Mermay 2024. I just started the video and I was fixing my hair and I thought actually if I just try to keep fixing it, I'll never start. So this is what it is. This is what I was telling you. It can be different every day, but if I don't do it, it's all floppy and fluffy and just don't want to dance like that. But it's my day off today, so I'm doing my laundry. I've got the heating pad on my back. I've got a hip, lower back, upper, let's just say my hip is sore. So I've got the heating pad on, but it is roasting hot in here, so I think I'll take a break from that. Thank you so much, heating pad. I've had this thing for years. It's really honestly a miracle worker. Get yourself one. Today's topic of conversation is a couple of the comments that I got in a few different days of Mermay videos. Since we are wrapping up, I've been encouraging people to ask your final questions before we get going back into our weekly vids. And Steph had asked, do you think you'll have a Patreon playtest Patreon for this year? No, I don't have any plans for that. However, the only thing I've thought about, which is so stupid, but do you remember in playtest 2, I made 2 the T in playtest 2, and then in playtest 3 I made the E the 3. For playtest 4 I'm going to make the A the 4, and that is the only thing I've ever thought of what I would do with playtest 4. I don't really have a need to do one right now. Those are genuinely these opportunities for me to play test all these types of ideas and things that I have going. Originally it was, you know, trying to prove a point to myself, and I got a really good understanding of the type of kind of digital content offering I could do as far as art journaling and workshops. That's what ended up becoming like a virtual voyage type workshop. And last year I wanted to try a whole bunch of series that I thought I could bring to YouTube, and that was kind of a good way for me to go about that. I think I got a good idea of what I wanted to do and eventually just kept going with what I was doing on YouTube anyway. But we did add a bunch of those series into the mix, and we've done videos of those since publicly on YouTube. But playtest 4, I don't really have anything to playtest right now. I could just do it for the experience of it. I think it'd be fun to bring back the Happy Mailer tiers from the original 2, the first one and the second one. But right now I'm working on my Virtual Voyage 9 workshop, so no real ideas about that. No plans for it for this year, but I'll never say never. You just never know. Something could pop up and I'll think, oh, this would be a great time to do that. So sorry if you're looking forward to that, but maybe soon. And then Will had a question, or rather a nice comment that has a bit of a question built into it. So I'm going to read the whole thing just so you know what I'm going to answer. Love the family dynamic discussion because it's so much a part of you and your art, and what a lovely life that is to look forward to. What was the relationship between you and your siblings, especially when you came out? You've touched on the shock of your parents and how you've grown through that together. Has it affected your relationship with your siblings, and was there a time period of growing pains? Please pick and choose to answer what you want or none at all. I'm always fascinated by sibling dynamics, especially since you have a twin straight brother. Great question. Yes, I do have a twin straight brother. He is 17 minutes older than me, so he thinks he's my big brother, but he is my twin, and I don't really see him that way. It's a very self-titled opinion he has. Yeah, Caleb is funny. We are super duper different. We've always been incredibly different. In our 30s, I think we've become much more tolerable of each other, but I can't even really say that because a few years ago we had a huge argument that he started out of nowhere, and I definitely tried to finish. And I'm very mouthy when I fight with my brother. He used to be very physical and like chase me down the road and bash me up. Very brotherly. But then when we got older, it was less appropriate for him to hit me. So I would just get really mouthy, and I can be quite mouthy. So, and I don't know, he just really knew how to push my buttons, and I think I really stayed pushing his as well. So I can't really blame him for all of it, but we're just so different. We were really different from the beginning, but you know, when you're young enough to not know about your differences, or you're playing together because you know, just the two of you at home and you just need to play with a friend, he would have all his military people set up in a little configuration in the lounge room, and I would walk my Barbies through and kind of kick them all over. So it kind of worked. But when our personalities developed, I was very girly, very Barbie dolls and ribbons in my hair and singing Xanadu and roller skating down the street, making a costume, going to dance class, doing like just really all of that. Caleb was super military, watching all his Rambo films and all these war films and researching about war and playing with his war figurines and just so into it. And then he ended up going to cadets. I ended up starting to dance. So we were just always separate. We had different friend groups, even when we went to the same school. Some of the things we did crossed over, but for the most part, we were just two separate ships in the night. Like, very, very different, and we'd been that way from the start. Even to look at, we don't really look like twins. We're fraternal. He's 6'4", I want to say. I'm 5'11". He has bright blue eyes. I have hazel eyes if I look into the sun. My mom says brown. I'm like, there's a really small ring of green you can see. He was always very, very skinny and very tall and lanky, and I was always short and chubby. We're both a bit stocky now, so that's great. But we were the perfect number 10. Tall and skinny, short and fat. And we were just different. I think that the obvious happens when you're different. You don't really spend a lot of time together and you kind of irritate each other a lot. So he left home when we were 15 or 16. I left when I was 18. So really it was just those teenage years that we had to put up with each other. And yeah, I mean, we're brothers. At the end of the day, we're family, we're brothers, so we get along when we have to. We fight a lot. It's gotten a little bit better, but then sometimes, you know, the only things we would really do together, if I was in a mood to watch Family Guy or American Dad, he would watch that, and we'd watch that together. Or we would play these games at Christmas. This one year we played this game at Christmas, and people were accusing us of of cheating, or like were like using telepathy or something, because we both were very good at what we were trying to do on the same team. And they were like, how are you doing that? And I thought, I actually don't know, because we're not the same. But we maybe have telepathy and we just don't know. But yeah, we're just different. So it wasn't like we had a super close relationship where I even felt like I needed to tell him that I was gay. He had certainly used a number of colorful words to describe me as such when we were growing up. I mean, what sibling doesn't when you're fighting with each other? I've certainly said as many colorful things back to him. But so I think he always knew that I was very flamboyant, very girly. But yeah, we just never really talked about anything too personal. And then one day on a contract, I had been dating my boyfriend at the time for maybe a year, I think. 6 months to a year. And I don't know how he had come to know about it, but he had, on the phone, I don't know if he'd written this out as a message or if we were actually on the phone, but all I remember him saying was, if you want, if I don't mind you being gay, but if you want your partner to be in my kids' lives, you can't keep a secret from me. Like, you can't keep those secrets. And I was like, oh, I didn't even think I was keeping a secret. Like, I didn't even think I had to tell him. And it was really weird for him to actually care. Like, I've never seen my brother be kind of sensitive to any of those things. So it was very heartwarming and kind of sweet, but at the same time I was really taken aback by it, because I thought, oh, interesting. Like, he doesn't care. He is more irritated that I didn't tell him. And from the perspective of, you want this to be my kid's uncle, like, you got to clue me in. And I thought, oh, that's true too. Like, if I did bring a man around, like, he would be the children's uncle. So weird, like a really weird interaction that we had. Give him a lot of credit for it though, because we were both raised very conservative, very evangelical. He was military, like, could not get a more man's man, blokey bloke, and no issues with it whatsoever. So huge blessing to me. Thank you so much, Caleb. Don't know what work you did on yourself to get to that point, but kudos to you, mama, for spilling. You'd have no idea what that means. Caleb's never going to watch this. He is... So he is that. Just my brother. We're just typical brothers. And then my sister, I had a very close relationship with my sister. I still do. She's my little baby sister. I've always wanted a little baby. I always wanted a little baby doll, real life Barbie doll sister that I could play dress ups with. She hated it. She hated wearing clothes. She hated having her hair done. She hated when I put makeup on her. She hated having to do all the photo shoots with me. She ended up liking it. You know, I think when she realized that I was gone away for contracts, it suddenly was something she wanted to do. So we would do it when I would visit, but yeah, she's 7 years younger than my brother and I, and so she's technically Gen Z, I think. So she had a very different kind of experience growing up, it wasn't so much like, you know, gay people, fire and brimstone, burn in hell forever. I think a lot of the teachings she had heard were similar to what my brother and I had heard, but it just didn't come with the same ferocity as what we had heard it with. So I think her ideas about it were a little bit more flexible. She was also very clued in to the fact that I was, you know, very different from a lot of the other people that she knew, but she also saw me as just her big brother. So I don't know how much she really thought about it. I do know that I've never come out to her either. I'd never come out to my brother or to my sister. They both ended up just knowing and never had a problem with it. My sister actually used me as, she had to do a report or like an assignment for school. She went to a Christian school in high school, and she had to write about one of her heroes or like an inspiring person to her or something, and she chose me, which is very, very flattering. But she had mentioned that I was gay, and they told her that that was wrong, and they were trying to get her in trouble for it, and she fought. She fought for her right to love her gay brother at her Christian school, which is so funny because I honestly wouldn't have cared, but she really felt like she had a principle to stick up for, and good for her because she was an ally before she even knew what that meant. She's very special. Sister's very sensitive as well, and like in a way that's very unfamiliar with the rest of my family. So we have a very, very sweet relationship in that it's just very different from the relationship I have with the rest of my family. We all kind of have very different relationships, but I left home at 18 and my sister was 11. I still think sometimes she's still the 11-year-old girl that I left, and I would see her when she would come to visit. Like I went to Japan out of high school, she came to visit for a week, and when I saw her, she was having a bit of a growth spurt, and I was so shocked to see how tall she'd gotten and, you know, the way that she had changed, like her appearance. And this was back in the day where you had to buy Skype credits, and there really wasn't, you know, we weren't texting each other photos of each other every 5 minutes. So that was such a shock. Like I couldn't believe, I just thought she was going to be a little girl forever, and then she was growing up, and then I would go home a couple of months later, she'd grown again, and then I would see her a few months after that, and she was even bigger, and then she's going through puberty, and she just looks so different. But she was just always that 11-year-old little girl that I had left. I, you know, was bawling my eyes leaving at the airport. It's so funny. She still cries her eyes out whenever I leave. It's one of those things my mum just kind of steps aside for, because my mum's not super emotional like that. She's getting like that in her old age. I know she is. But my sister has always been very emotional and very tactile and very sweet and very sensitive. And she's just super special like that. So yeah, I had a very close relationship, with my sister. My brother and I are just very different, but we're brothers, and so we exist in the same family, and we work towards a common goal of being respectful to each other. Did I tell you? I think I told people this, but when I went to Christmas a couple years ago, he just really let me have it for no reason, and I did not back down from that fight, and that got a little wild. But that was like the first time we'd fought in a long time, so I felt like we were just overdue. My mum won't get involved either, and it's so funny because we both turn into like little boys when we start fighting and try and get mum to side with one of us and tell the other one off, and she just doesn't get involved. Isn't that like all families? Is that how normal family works? I don't know. My stepbrothers, they've just always accepted it. That just is what it is, so that was great. Yeah, no one needed there was no growing pains, no one needed a grace period, no one needed to be explained anything. I actually didn't come out to any of them. They all just somehow found out and knew and didn't have any issues with it. In fact, they've been very supportive, and Steve is uncle to all the grandchildren, all the nieces, all the nephews. Call him Uncle Steve. He is as much a part of the family as anybody else's spouse is, and honestly, what more could you want? Like, that was never even a dream I had, because I didn't think I could have that. I just didn't even know that was an option, or would ever be an option for me. So I am very, very, very lucky. And yeah, sibling dynamics, very, very interesting. Although I feel like it just wouldn't shock anyone to know that my brother and I wouldn't get along like a house on fire. We're not bad. Like, we don't go out of our way to irritate each other. I just really don't know, but I can get under his skin so easily. He also likes to I think he thinks that he's really my big brother, which, like, I get it. He is slightly older, but that means he gets a final say in things, and I just don't believe that. Like, I think I get the final say. He thinks he's smarter than me, and I know I'm smarter than him, so it is what it is. But yeah, and then my little sister, my baby sister, who is a full-grown woman with her own children, but will always be my baby sister. And yeah, even with to be honest, like, a lot of coming out with my family, I actually never had any big issues or conversations with my stepdad about it. A lot of my extended family had just accepted it. For all the fear that I had, my mother and I went on quite a journey, but there were a lot of other factors at play, which I don't think I'd ever disclose on the internet. I would tell you in person because it's a story that I'm fine to share, but it's just not something I want to see flashed back up in my face for any reason if I didn't want it to. So it was a little bit rocky and, temperamental with my mum, and honestly, through no fault of either of us, to be honest. I feel like maybe there are some things that we both wish we could have done a little differently, but yeah, there were a lot of external factors, I feel like, that made it a lot more tumultuous. But at the end, like, once we had gotten to a place where everything was okay, it really has just been okay. And I got the best situation that anyone in my position could have ever, ever, ever asked for. And I will never not be grateful for that. And yeah, that's all I'll say. That's all I'll say. There's a small part of me that wants to go in to talk about the complete opposite of a situation that has to do with my in-laws, and I just don't think this is the right format to have that conversation in. It's a very much an open wound as well, so just not the right thing to talk about. I will just say that if they should ever come across this video, I am no longer in the business of protecting people's reputations. And if you don't want to be known as the person that does X, Y, and Z, you can't go and do X, Y, and Z. And at this point, I'll just have to leave it at that. I think the reason I get a little bit like, there's just this other thing that kind of holds on to me when I say I am so unbelievably grateful for what I have, is because I have watched what it is like for all of the fears that I had as a kid to come to life. And it has been unbelievably heartbreaking to watch. And so there's a little bit of pain attached to, or maybe a little bit of guilt attached to having the unbelievable blessing that I have, and knowing that it doesn't exist in other places, and that other people would literally give everything to have that. And I feel like I'm going to cry just thinking about it. It is so hard to watch. So if I don't know how many parents are watching this with gay children and you're struggling to accept them, don't even think about it, just do it. The alternative is insane. Don't go there. But yeah, thank you to my family. None of them are watching this, I'm sure. But I believe a lot of why I feel like a confident, well-adjusted, comfortable within my own skin adult is because I had a family dynamic like that. I had those experiences of acceptance and validation and affirmation, and I was taught to feel confident, and then I was encouraged to feel that, and I was accepted for the things that people might have found it hard to accept me for. I've watched people work towards, understanding things differently in an effort to make sure that I felt like I was still accepted and wanted and loved, and those types of things are some of the most remarkable things that I think humans are capable of to make each other feel good and happy and whole and healthy and safe and calm, and all of the things that we really strive to feel like in the world. So my prayer, honestly, is that anyone that doesn't feel those things will get to feel those things however they can, and I'll just continue to be grateful for what I have as I have it right now. And then I did read somewhere else, just go home and have the moments that you want to have, because you'll Miss them. Oh, here, James, you need to go home for the couch moment, lollies, babies, and the beach. We all only have one life, and in the end, those moments are the most precious ones. If a time opens up, I'm there. I'm going. Thank you so much for watching. And ask any more questions in the comments below. We'll be wrapping this up in a couple of days. Don't want to miss out on an opportunity to answer something for you. And until then, have a good one. Bye.